business news now, and the market's focus on soaring rich world inflation has obscured the pain inflicted on developing economies, where citizens spend a much greater portion of incomes on ever more costly food and energy. And that was a major discussion point on day 4 of those crucial IMF World Bank meetings taking place in Washington, D.C. Many of those countries, not least in sub-Saharan Africa, are already heavily indebted, and financial officials downplayed the possibility of any quick fix for debt reduction.
Debt restructuring. So the World Bank works very closely with the IMF on debt situations. Nigeria has not asked for the common framework under the G20 process. That process has been slow acting in Chad and Ethiopia and Zambia. There's some signs of movement on Zambia, but still challenging. So Nigeria and Ghana both did not ask for common framework treatment. Crystalina and I were talking yesterday with the group about it. Part of if countries could have a situation where the common framework caused or allowed the country to have a standstill on their debt, that would help the countries choose their path forward on debt restructuring. That would mean they would get a break on debt payments while they're working out a restructuring agreement with the world. But Nigeria hasn't gone that route.
And that's David Malpass, who is the president of the World Bank. Well, let's cross over to Washington, D.C., where Arise correspondent Nkechi Nana has been covering those IMF meetings. Good to see you, Nkechi. Investors worry about developed world inflation, but what have the IMF and the World Bank said about emerging economies?
Yes, Charles, just focusing on emerging economies and the emerging markets. This morning, Kristalina Georgieva said again, like she has been reiterating throughout the week, monetary policy tools are very important. But it just sounds so basic, but it's not that basic. We know that during the pandemic, there was a push-up of demand and labor tightening markets like in the U.S., and you had emerging markets borrowing more, and not borrowing to produce, but just borrowing to consume. And what she says is that even as you're using this monetary policy tools, tightening monetary conditions, you have to be very careful, and you have to focus and look at the inflation trend. She says it's sort of like a new world. The economic world is shifting into a more permanent inflation rate, and if that shifts to a more permanent place, monetary policy will not even be able to help. And something that she mentioned that's very important, she said she had a meeting with the heads of Commonwealth banks and ministers of finance, and one thing she has been reiterating over and over again is the importance of working together, bringing the world together, 190 members together, and just basically benefiting from that integrated economy. And she was very dramatic in saying this, that if we don't benefit from that integrated economy, we're all going to be poorer, Charles. And it's not a surprise that I'm sure you can guess where this will be most felt. It will be most felt in emerging economies where Nigeria is a part of, Charles.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Nkechi, thanks very much indeed. Nkechi Nana is a Rice correspondent. She's talking to me from the IMF meetings in Washington.